Why Europe's Gen Z gave up on having kids. All right, this is a really interesting subject for me. We have something similar happening in the US as well. This one is coming from the channel The European Edge. Brand new YouTube channel. Somehow they came across my home feed on YouTube, and I don't think that I might have been their first subscriber ever. I watched about 30 seconds of this and I was like, all right, I gotta do a reaction to this because I do watch a lot of content on my own time. But nonetheless, yeah, Gen Z in Europe. Curious to see what's going on there. Here in the US, fairly similar, not having a lot of kids. Ours don't drink. They are kind of antisocial. I don't want to call them dumb, but at some points, sometimes when I come across Gen Z in public, working at jobs, they do have they're just a unique individual. And obviously they grew up in a completely different time. The first generation to grow up with screens. Curious to see what we got going on with Europe's Gen Z and why they are not having kids. Smash the like button and let's dive in. By the way, I'll have a link for this channel down in the description below. Go check them out. Go show them some love. Tell them Jacob Steven sent you their way.
And that is a problem. The average fertility rate, Europeans are not having enough children. And Europeans are not having enough children, and that is a problem. The average fertility rate in the EU is 1.34. That is well below the 2.1 replacement rate needed to sustain the population. At the bottom of the table, it's even as low as 1.01. As of today, every single country in Europe has a birth rate well below replacement level. These are some of the lowest numbers ever recorded in any developed country in human history. It's safe to say the fertility rate is one of the defining issues facing Europe. So why is this? Well, the reasons are many. People like to point towards cultural explanations like individualism, dating apps, people wanting to travel. And I won't deny that that definitely plays a role. But let's flip the question around. Because even if we set aside the people who genuinely don't want kids, what about the ones who do? Can they? Why don't they just do it? What's standing in their way? Let's find out.
Probably, if I had to guess off the top of my head, I would say a bad economy, not enough high-paying jobs, maybe like a lack of morale. And I'm kind of associating my thoughts a little bit towards the Gen Z here in the US. Our economy is also not like doing that great. Everything is inflated. Prices are crazy. Nobody can afford anything. I would assume that some of the Europeans, Gen Z Europeans, are probably experiencing something very similar. Let's find out though.
When it comes to family creation, the traditional sequence has always been stable job, stable partner, stable home, then you start your family. Well, the home ownership situation in most major European cities is, to put it mildly, not looking all too good. The EU average age for moving out of your parents' place is now 26.4 years. In some countries, it's even later than 30. In fact, around 30% of Europeans aged 25 to 34 still live with their parents. In countries like Italy and Greece, it's above 50%. Let's not sugarcoat it. That's absurd. If young people cannot even...
Yeah, Italy is definitely kind of like an outlier, though. I know that they have a very family, like a family unit there that people don't move out as frequently, and then also your grandparents will come back and live with you. Am I right about that? I feel like that's pretty on point.
Out of their parents' place, how on earth are they going to buy a house? Most people want not only a stable place to live, but a nice place to live before they have kids. In most major European cities today, neither is possible. The housing issue is one of the major reasons the fertility rate is so low, but it's not everything. The second hurdle young Europeans face relates to work and affordability. Europe has a massive issue of youth unemployment, wage stagnation, and inflation, all of which turns family formation into some kind of a mythical fairy tale. If you look at EU youth unemployment, for instance, it's now at 15%, but that's just the average. In some southern European countries, it's even worse than that. Spain and Greece, for example, both have a youth unemployment level above 20%. In Italy,
oh man, 20%? That's pretty high.
1 in 5 young people are classified as NEET, not in employment, education, or training. NEET. These are people in their mid to late 20s with no reliable income, no foundation, no launch pad. And for the ones who do have jobs, well, if you've tried just existing for the past 20 years, food has gone up, energy bills have gone up. With the current cost of living crisis, just keeping yourself alive at all is becoming harder and harder. Up until the 60s and 70s, wages actually grew in a way you could feel. As a young person, you could actually build a future without having to be a rocket scientist. Although, I think not even rocket scientists are doing well these days. 50 years ago, a stable job at 24 was a reasonable expectation rather than a whoa dude, how'd you do that? Well, those days are long gone. So, why isn't anyone doing anything? Well, they are. Some governments here in Europe are at least doing something. I'll give them that. Some countries have tried one-off baby bonuses, modest tax credits, or like the Swedish city of...
Yeah, I think I heard about, who is it? Poland did something like that. I think a couple of other countries. It was like, don't quote me on this. It was either $2,500 or $5,000. Oh, wait, no. No, was it they don't have to pay income tax if you have 2 or more kids in Poland? Let me look that up really quick. Now I'm kind of curious. I can't even spell children right. Let's see here. Main child benefit, 800 plus program, tax incentives. Okay, yeah, so as of 2025, parents raising at least 2 children can qualify for 0 personal income tax on earnings up to 140,000 PLN per parent, or about 38,000 USD. That's pretty good, not having to pay income tax. Okay, so I just asked if any other countries. Sweden, parents get 480 days of paid parental leave. Kind of helps a little bit, but not as much as like not having to pay taxes. Norway, around 49 weeks. Okay, more paid leave. Denmark and Finland, flexible parental leave, 12 to 18 months total. Okay, so a lot of paid time off for new parents, but not so much in the like tax incentive or like a rebate of some kind.
If Sollefteå hosted a love week. Yeah, I'm not kidding here. They have sold them that. Some countries have tried one-off baby bonuses, modest tax credits, or like the Swedish city of Sollefteå hosted a love week. Yeah, I'm not kidding here. They did that.
Week?
On a more serious note, though, the most ambitious experiment in Europe has been Hungary. The government, then led by Orban, offered lifetime income tax exemptions for mothers of 4 or more. They also offered free IVF and mortgage subsidies for families with children. In total, they committed roughly 5% of GDP to pro-natalist family policies. That's one of the highest anywhere in the world. And as luck would have it, Hungary's very low fertility rate rose from around 1.23 in 2011 to a peak of 1.56 in 2021. Simultaneously, you saw marriage rates go up, and it was held up internationally as proof that political will could reverse this dire trend. But unfortunately, the rate has since declined again, and new research suggests Hungary's family policies mostly just accelerated births that were going to happen anyway, rather than genuinely convincing people who otherwise wouldn't have children to have them. Hungary spent a fortune trying to solve this issue, and still sits well below replacement. So what went wrong? The issue isn't that Hungary tried and failed, it's what they targeted. They tried to give people with children rewards, with things like bonuses, exemptions, and subsidies. But the fundamental barriers, unaffordable housing, stagnant wages, job insecurity, they were still there.
It's the economy, stupid. Who said that? I think it was a US president. I don't remember which one. Maybe George Bush 1 or Reagan? I can't remember.
Regardless of bonuses, having kids was fundamentally something people couldn't afford to do. The bonuses and the extra pocket money helped at the margins, at best. It didn't actually eradicate the core issues. Compare Hungary's numbers to Sweden and Finland's. In the Nordic countries, the fertility rate is around 1.6 to 1.7, still below replacement, but meaningfully above the Southern European collapse. The difference isn't that the Nordic countries spent more or had stronger political will. It's that they targeted something different. What they've at least tried to do is to build economies where it's fundamentally more feasible for young people to reach stability earlier, more flexible labor markets that don't trap people in decade-long temp contracts, better housing supply in many areas that prevents rents from devouring entire salaries, and systems that let parents balance work and family without total financial ruin. I'm not saying big government welfare spending is the only way to go about it. I'm sure there's other ways to accomplish the same thing. The point isn't a defense of the Scandinavian system. The point is that what they've done is to build an economy in which it's fundamentally fine to have kids. If you want to understand why European birth rates are where they are, and what would actually change, that's what you need to look at. So, is the solution for Europe as simple as fix their economies? Well, that goes a long way, but it still leaves out maybe the most important significant factor of all. And that is that people do not have children purely on the basis of financial calculations. If they did, the poorest countries in the world would have the lowest birth rates. They don't. People have children when they believe tomorrow will be better than today, when they trust that the society they're bringing a child into is going in the right direction. They have children when the future feels like something worth building toward, rather than something to brace against. People have children when they feel optimism. Go back and look at the Great Depression.
I don't know. Some people just have children because they don't like to wrap it up.
In the 1930s, European and American birth rates collapsed. Between 1926 and 1936, it was down 26%. Why? Well, because the economy sucked, of course, but primarily because people genuinely did not trust that tomorrow would get better. Then, as economies began to stabilize in the mid-1930s, birth rates started climbing again. With public works, job programs, and infrastructure projects, people started seeing tangible progress. They started seeing how fewer neighbors were unemployed, they saw institutions actually functioning, they saw new stuff being built. All in all, they got a sense that there might be a better tomorrow after all. Right before the outbreak of World War II, birth rates started to recover again, for the simple reason that people had hope. So, how much hope does the average person feel today? A youth survey from 2024 found that only 38% of Europeans aged 15 to 35 believe their generation will be better off than their parents. The vast majority does not. That number is the answer.
It's pretty wild because, man, it's like kind of the same thing for me. The boomers, at least here in the US, I don't know what the boomers are like in Europe, but they are the first generation ever to leave the previous generations off worse than how they found it. Or like worse than how they did. It's the first time it's ever happened in our country's history. It's pretty wild. I mean, I graduated high school in 2009, 1 year after the financial collapse, and it has just been a shit show ever since. I mean, obviously COVID, I was in 6th grade when 9/11 happened. It's just always something insane going on. But now the economy's just shit.
It's that they're pessimistic. And who can blame them? If we want to fix the European birth rate, the best thing we can do is to make it so that people actually, truly feel excited about tomorrow. And I'm not talking about spreading some kind of government propaganda or giving false hope. No, we need to actually fix our civilization. Until that happens, the numbers will keep falling. Let's get a little personal for a moment. Most young Europeans I know would like a family. The idea of earning enough money where you can comfortably care for a family, not just get by, but actually offer a wonderful life to your spouse and kids, is something most people I know would want. The idea of owning your own house,
I think so.
Being nested in your local community, and seeing it all come to fruition is not a fringe, freakish thing to want. I believe most people want that. The problem is that everything I just described is, in today's world, an exceptional outcome. It's far from the average person's outcome. If I'd meet someone on the streets of Paris, Stockholm, or Budapest who said that by the age of 28, he had a stable job earning him a good livable income, he had a decent amount saved up, he owned his own house, and his wife was expecting their second child, I'd be in awe. I'd be shocked by this man's incredible life achievements. And that's the core problem right there.
It's got to be happening though, right? I mean, people are still having kids. It's just not as strong.
Shocking. But today it is. To achieve what that hypothetical guy did, he would have to be exceptional. This goes deeper than just reducing inflation or giving out handouts to families of 4. European leaders need to genuinely get their act together, rise up, and once again turn our continent into the greatest place on Earth. We have all the raw materials we could need to build a truly remarkable civilization, filled with economic prosperity, technological advancements, rich culture, and above all, a ridiculously high standard of living. When we do that, our demographic issues will go away.
All right, that was really interesting. Yeah, there's a lot of correlations, and I hate to always bring it back to like my own real personal experience with what's going on in the US, but it's kind of like my only frame of reference that I have. The parallels are striking though. It's almost identical. So yeah, I don't know. Is Gen Z gonna start having more kids? Are things gonna turn around? The economies get better? More jobs? I mean, I know like we're in like the AI age. We have a huge debate with data centers right now in a lot of our states. They're popping up everywhere, and I don't really know how many jobs they're gonna supply, but interesting. I don't know. The world's changing, y'all. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I'm really curious. Kind of going out on not normal topics that I cover, but this was just interesting to me. So I had to throw it out there for y'all and see what you think, and go show the European Edge some love. He sounds like a young guy, and I like supporting young creators out there that are, trying to do it, especially hopefully a Gen Z creator. All right. Appreciate y'all watching. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.